Professor Zyxthera's three eye stalks swiveled independently as she surveyed her xenobiology class at the Galactic Institute of Advanced Studies. 23 students from 17 different species sat in the amphitheater, their various appendages poised over data tablets. Today, she announced, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into galactic standard, you will face your final practical examination. You must capture and safely contain a Vorentine shade stalker. A collective gasp rippled through the classroom. The Kthari student in the front row dropped his stylus, and even the usually stoic Grenmarin delegate shifted nervously in her gravitational suspension field. Jake Morrison, the only human in the class, looked up from his tablet with mild interest. The Black Panther-looking things from Vorentine Prime. Correct, Mr. Morrison. Professor Zyxthera's middle eye stalk focused on him with what might have been concern. Though I should emphasize that comparing them to Earth fauna is dangerously reductive. Shade stalkers are apex predators with reactive camouflage, neurotoxic saliva, and documented aggression toward any species that makes direct eye contact. In the past 200 cycles, there have been 347 failed capture attempts. 12 resulted in fatalities. Cool, Jake said, making a note on his tablet. The Trithorian student beside him, a being resembling a crystalline mantis, chittered anxiously. This is madness. How are we supposed to contain something that has killed trained xenohunters? You have been provided with standard containment equipment, the professor explained. Stasis nets, tranquilizer drones, motion sensors, and emergency beacon transmitters. You will work in teams of 3. The creature has been released in Habitat Zone 7. You have 6 standard hours. Jake found himself paired with Tkresh, the nervous Trithorian, and Bolgrim, a hulking Thraxian whose species were essentially intelligent boulders with attitude. They stood at the entrance to Habitat Zone 7, a carefully controlled environment designed to mimic Vorentine Prime's dense jungles. I have analyzed 17 previous capture attempts, Tkresh said, his translator rendering his chittering into a high-pitched voice. The optimal strategy involves herding the creature into a confined space using concussive charges, then deploying the stasis net from multiple angles while. Or, Jake interrupted, setting down his equipment pack, I could just go talk to it. Balgrim's rocky surface rippled in what might have been laughter. The human makes jokes before death. I respect this. I'm serious. Jake pulled out a protein bar from his pocket and unwrapped it. Look, I grew up in Montana. My granddad had a ranch near Glacier National Park. You know what we had there? Grizzly bears, mountain lions, wolves. Predators way bigger and meaner than anything I've read about these shade stalkers. This is not some primitive Earth predator. Tkresh protested. This creature has neurotoxic. Yeah, neurotoxic saliva. Wolverines have that too, basically. Jake started walking into the habitat zone. You guys set up the stasis net as backup. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Before his teammates could stop him, Jake disappeared into the artificial jungle. The habitat was impressive, Jake had to admit. Bioluminescent plants cast an eerie purple glow through the mist, and the humidity reminded him of that spring break trip to Florida. He could hear the distant calls of simulated native fauna, all carefully designed to make the shade stalker feel at home. He found a small clearing and sat down on a moss-covered log, making himself comfortable. Then he did something that would have horrified every xenobiologist in the galaxy, he closed his eyes and waited. 15 minutes passed. Jake felt it before he heard it, that instinctive prickling on the back of his neck that told him he was being watched. He didn't move, didn't open his eyes. Just kept breathing slowly, deliberately non-threatening. A low growl emanated from somewhere to his left. Through his peripheral vision, he caught a glimpse of midnight black fur and eyes that gleamed like molten gold. Hey there, Jake said softly, still not looking directly at the creature. You must be getting pretty bored in here, huh? Fake jungle, simulated prey. That's rough, buddy. The growling intensified. He heard the soft padding of massive paws circling him. Yeah, I'd be pissed too, Jake continued, breaking off a piece of his protein bar. He tossed it casually to the ground between them. Not much, but it's all I got. Chocolate and peanut butter. We humans are suckers for this stuff. The Shade Stalker's growl changed pitch, curiosity now mixed with the aggression. Jake heard it sniff the protein bar, then a wet sound as it was consumed in one bite. Good, right? Jake smiled, eyes still closed. Listen, I know what they want. They want to stuff you in a box, run some tests, treat you like a specimen. That sucks. But here's the thing, if you don't cooperate with me, they're gonna send in the guys with the big guns. And trust me, you don't want that. He finally opened his eyes, but kept his gaze low, avoiding direct eye contact. The Shade Stalker sat about 10 feet away, massive and magnificent. Its fur seemed to absorb light itself, and intricate patterns rippled across its coat like oil on water. How about this, Jake said, standing up slowly. You let me walk you out of here, we get through this stupid test, and I make sure you get transferred to a real habitat. Somewhere with actual prey and actual challenges. Deal? He extended his hand, palm down, fingers relaxed. Every predator specialist in the galaxy would have called him insane. The Shade Stalker could take his hand off with one bite. The creature's golden eyes fixed on him, and for a moment, Jake wondered if he'd miscalculated. Then the Shade Stalker stood, shook its massive head, and walked forward. It pressed its nose against Jake's hand. Good boy, Jake whispered, scratching behind what he assumed were ears. Or girl. Sorry, hard to tell with aliens. Come on, let's go blow some minds. Professor Zyxthara's eye stalks nearly tangled themselves when Jake walked out of Habitat Zone 7 with the Shade Stalker padding beside him like an oversized house cat. The creature's head reached his shoulder, and its tail swished contentedly as Jake scratched behind its auditory organs. The entire class stared in stunned silence. What, the professor finally managed, did you do? Jake shrugged. Talked to it. Gave it some food. Showed some respect. Same thing you'd do with any intelligent predator. But, the neurotoxin only activates when it feels threatened. Jake looked at the Shade Stalker, which had sat down and was making a sound disturbingly similar to a purr. Right, buddy? You're not gonna bite someone who's just being cool. Tkresh's crystalline structure had gone completely transparent with shock. This is impossible. You had no specialized equipment, no strategy, no. He had something better, Bolgrim rumbled, his rocky voice filled with what might have been respect. He had the human instinct. Professor Zyxthara's eye stalks quivered as she made rapid notes. Mr. Morrison, your methodology was reckless, dangerous, and violated approximately 17 safety protocols. Jake winced. So I failed. Failed? No. All three eye stalks focused on him simultaneously. You've just demonstrated a capability we didn't know humans possessed. The ability to form instant rapport with hostile xenofauna through what appears to be pure instinct and emotional intelligence. She paused. You're being transferred to the Advanced Xenopsychology program. Immediately. As Jake left the amphitheater with his new shadow padding beside him, he heard Tkresh chittering to Bolgrim, remind me never to underestimate humans again. Agreed, the Thraxian rumbled. They are either the bravest species in the galaxy, or the craziest. Jake grinned. In his experience, the two usually went hand in hand.